You walk into the kitchen on a random Tuesday in April, stare at a pile of confusing tax papers, and wonder why the government doesn't just send you a bill like your electric company does. After all, they already know how much money you made, how much you paid in taxes, and probably what you had for breakfast. So why do you have to spend hours filling out forms, calculating numbers they already have, and hoping that you don't accidentally commit a felony by putting the wrong number in the wrong box? Today, we're going to figure out why filing taxes is still a thing when it really doesn't need to be. So here's a thing that might blow your mind. In most other countries, doing your taxes is about as complicated as ordering a pizza. Their governments just send you a piece of paper that says, "Hey, we think you owe this much money," or "Good news, we owe you money back." You look at it and say, "Yeah, that seems right," or "Actually, I think you missed something," and then you're done. No calculators, no shouting at your computer, no wondering if you're going to prison because you can't figure out what a 1099 misc is. But not here in America. No. Here we have a system that's about as user-friendly as trying to assemble furniture with instructions written in ancient hieroglyphics. We have a system where the people who are supposed to collect the money have all the information that they need, but they make you do their homework for them anyway. It's like if your teacher gave you a test where they already knew all the answers, but you still had to figure them out yourself, and if you get them wrong, you get in trouble. But let's go back and figure out how we got into this mess in the first place. Way back in the day, like when your great-great-grandparents were young, most Americans didn't pay income taxes at all. The government got its money from taxing things like alcohol and tobacco, which was way simpler. I mean, you want to buy whiskey? Pay a tax. You want to buy cigarettes? Pay a tax. Done. No forms, no calculations, no wondering if your hobby of collecting stamps counts as a business expense. But then World War II happened and the government needed a lot more money to fight the war. So they decided that everyone should pay income taxes, not just rich people. Suddenly, millions of regular folks who had never filled out a tax form in their lives had to figure out this whole system. And the government needed a way to collect all this money, so they came up with the idea of making employers take taxes out of people's paychecks automatically. This was called withholding, and it was supposed to make things easier. Here's where it gets interesting though. The government could have just said, "We'll take what we think you owe us during the year, and we'll call it even." But instead, they said, "We'll take what we think you owe us during the year, but then you have to file a form to make sure that we got it right." This was supposed to be temporary, at least just until they figured out a better system. But, spoiler alert, they never figured out a better system. After the war ended, you might think they would have simplified things, but instead, something weird happened. The tax code started getting more and more complicated. I mean, politicians just kept adding special rules and exceptions and deductions for different groups of people. If you had kids, you got a deduction. If you bought a house, you got a deduction. If you donated money to charity, you got a deduction. If you had a business, you got about 1 million different deductions. Every time Congress wanted to encourage people to do something, they added it to the tax code. Now, here's the key thing to understand. The government already knows most of the information they need to calculate your taxes. I mean, your employer tells them how much money you made, your bank tells them how much interest you earned, your investment company tells them about your stocks and bonds, and if you have a mortgage, your bank tells them how much interest you paid. The government gets copies of all those same forms that you're getting in the mail. They know almost everything that they need to know. So why don't they just do the math for you? Well, that's where things get really interesting. And by interesting, I mean frustrating in a way that makes you want to scream into a pillow. There are companies out there that make a lot of money by helping people file their taxes. And these companies have names like TurboTax and H&R Block, and they make billions of dollars every year helping people fill out forms that the government could probably fill out for them. If the government started sending people pre-filled tax forms, well, these companies would lose a lot of money. So they spend a lot of money trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. And this is where we need to talk about something called lobbying. Lobbying is when companies pay people to go talk to politicians and try to convince them to make laws that help the companies make more money. It's like if you paid your friend to go ask your teacher to give you an extra credit, except with way more money involved and way more expensive suits. The tax preparation companies have spent millions and millions of dollars lobbying Congress to keep the tax system complicated. They argue that people should have a choice in how they file their taxes, which sounds pretty nice until you realize it's like arguing that people should have the choice to dig their own wells instead of just getting water from the city. Sure, you could do it yourself, but why would you want to when there's an easier way? These companies have been really clever about this. Instead of just saying, "We want to keep making money, so please don't make taxes simpler," they come up with reasons that sound like they're looking out for you. They say things like, free filing gives people more control over their tax returns, and competition in tax preparation leads to better services. It's like if a company that made really complicated can openers lobbied against easy open cans by saying people should have the freedom to choose how they open their cans. But here's the thing that makes this whole situation even more ridiculous. The IRS actually tried to make things simpler. Back in the early 2000s, they started working on a new system where they would send people pre-filled tax forms. They tested it out in a few states, and guess what? People loved it. It saved them time, it reduced errors, and it made tax filing about as stressful as checking your mail. But of course, the tax preparation companies freaked out. They lobbied harder than ever, and they managed to convince Congress to stop the program. They argued that it would be unfair for the government to compete with private companies. And this is like arguing that it would be unfair for the post office to deliver mail because it competes with FedEx, except the post office was already delivering mail for free and FedEx was charging people money to do something that they could do themselves. So, instead of getting simple, pre-filled tax forms, we got something called free file. And this is where the government made a deal with the tax preparation companies. The companies agreed to let some people file their taxes for free using the company's software, and in exchange, the government agreed not to create its own simple filing system. It's like if the city made a deal with expensive restaurants where the restaurants would give free meals to some people, and in exchange, the city promised never to build a public cafeteria. But even free file turned out to be kind of a scam. The companies made it really hard to find the free versions of their software. They would advertise free tax filing, but then try to trick people into paying for upgrades that they didn't need. They would hide the actual free version and promote the free version that actually costs money. It's like if a store put up a big sign saying free ice cream, but when you got inside, they only gave you free ice cream if you bought a cone and sprinkles and hot fudge, and suddenly now your free ice cream costs $20. Meanwhile, over in other countries, they just send people their tax information and say, does this look right? I mean, over in Japan, many people are just getting a postcard. A postcard! In Denmark, people can check their tax information on their phone and then approve it with a text message. In the UK, most people never even have to file a tax return, all because their employer handles everything automatically. But over in America, we have a system where you have to gather up a bunch of forms, figure out which ones apply to you, do a bunch of math that the government could do for you, and then hope that you don't make any mistakes that'll get you in trouble. It's like if every time you went into a restaurant, they made you go into the kitchen, cook your own food, calculate how much it would cost, and then pay them, even though they already knew what you ordered and how much it should cost. The really frustrating part, though, is that for most people, their taxes are actually pretty simple. I mean, if you have a regular job, you get a W-2 form, maybe have a bank account that earns a little interest, and then you don't have any weird investments or business income, your taxes could be calculated by a computer in about 3 seconds. The government already has all the information it needs. Your employer told them how much you made and how much tax was withheld. Your bank already told them about your interest. They could just do the math and then send you a bill or a refund check. But instead, we have this elaborate system where you have to prove to the government that you're paying the right amount of money, even though they already know how much you should pay. It's like if every month your electric company made you read your own meter, calculate your bill, and then send them money, even though they could just read the meter themselves and send you a bill like they actually do. The tax preparation industry has gotten really good at making this seem normal. They run ads during tax season that make it seem like filing taxes is just a natural part of being an adult, like learning to drive or doing laundry. They make it seem like their complicated software is actually helping you, when really they're just charging you money to do something that could be done automatically. And here's the real sneaky part. They've convinced a lot of people that a complicated tax system is actually better because it gives you more opportunities to save money. They talk about all the deductions and credits that you might be missing, as if the tax code is some kind of treasure hunt where you're winning prizes for finding hidden loopholes. But for most people, the standard deduction is bigger than all their itemized deductions combined, so all that complexity doesn't actually save them any money. It's like if someone convinced you that buying groceries would be really complicated because there might be secret discounts hidden throughout the store. So instead of just buying what you need, you should spend hours searching every aisle with a magnifying glass looking for special deals that probably don't exist. The government has actually calculated that Americans spend about 6 billion hours every year just on tax compliance. That's billion, with a B. If you added up all the time that Americans spend filling out tax forms, it would be like having 3 million people work full-time jobs just doing taxes. Think about what else those people could be doing with that time. They could be spending time with their families, starting businesses, volunteering in their communities, or just relaxing and enjoying their lives. But instead, every spring, millions of Americans sit at their kitchen tables or hunched over their computers trying to figure out whether their home office deduction should be calculated using the simplified method or the actual expense method, even though the difference is probably about $12 and the government already knows how big their house is anyway. Some states have tried to make things simpler on their own. California created a program called Ready Return where they send people pre-filled state tax forms. The people who use it love it. It saved them time, reduced errors, and made tax filing way less stressful. But of course, the tax preparation companies lobbied against it there as well, and the program never expanded beyond a pilot project. The federal government has made some small steps towards simplification though. They've increased the standard deduction, which means that fewer people need to itemize their deductions. They've simplified some of the forms, but the basic system is still the same. You have to prove to the government that you're paying the right amount of taxes, even though they already know what the right amount is. And every year, the tax preparation companies make billions of dollars from this system. TurboTax alone makes over $3 billion a year. That is $3 billion that Americans are paying to do something that could be done for free. It's like if there was a company that charged you money to tell you what time it is, even though there are clocks everywhere. The really crazy part is that the technology to make taxes simple already exists. The IRS has all the information they need in their computers. They could easily send most people a pre-filled form that says, "We think you owe this much," or "We think we owe you this much back." You could look at it, make any necessary corrections, sign it, and then send it back. The whole process would take about 5 minutes for most people. But instead, we have a system that's designed to be confusing and time-consuming, not because it has to be, but because there are companies making money from all the confusion. It's like if someone invented a really simple way to tie your shoes, but the shoelace companies lobbied to make sure that everyone had to keep using the complicated way because they made more money selling longer laces. So here we are in the 21st century with computers that can recognize your face and cars that can drive themselves. But we still have a tax system that requires millions of people to spend hours every year doing math that a computer could do in seconds. We have a system where the people who collect the taxes know what you owe, but they make you figure it out yourself anyway. And if you get it wrong, you get in trouble. It doesn't have to be this way. I mean, other countries have proven that tax filing can be simple and automatic. The technology exists. The information is already available. The only thing standing in the way is a bunch of companies that make money from keeping things complicated. And the politicians who listen to them instead of listening to the millions of Americans who just want to file their taxes without wanting to throw their computers out the window. So, there you have it. The reason we still have to file taxes, even though the IRS already knows what you owe, is basically because some companies figured out how to make billions of dollars by keeping a simple process complicated. It's like if someone convinced everyone that they need to hire a professional to help them use a microwave, even though the microwaves have buttons that say exactly what they do. The government could totally just send you a tax bill just like your electric company does. But instead, we have this whole elaborate system designed to make money for companies that sell tax software. And now you know why April makes grown-ups cry into their calculators. So go forth and be appropriately annoyed at this ridiculous system.